I'm with the manufacturer, National LED. So we started out in 2001 doing manufacturing for LED lighting. Fast forward about 2012, I met Michael. Steven actually went to the same program as me at the University of Houston. So I knew Steven, had a good relationship with him. My mentor owns the LED manufacturing facility, and he did some mentoring at the U of H Wolf Center for Entrepreneurship, which is the program Steven went through, Craney. And so had a good relationship there, went in, did a lunch and learn with them. Only job I've had out of college is being with this manufacturer. So is gonna be something repeated that's in this video that I'm gonna show you. But about 4 or 5 years ago, have y'all ever done work for Advanced Auto Parts? About 4 or 5 years ago, Advanced Auto Parts came to us. They've got 6,000 locations around the US, and we had done lighting retrofits for them. And they said, hey, by the way, your installers do a really good job. We like your product spec. You've got a green energy initiative. It goes right in hand with our LEDs. We want to have 2 chargers at every one of our locations around the US where the cars are going to be driving within a 5-mile radius to deliver parts. They said, we've already bought some chargers. Will you install them? So we installed them. We got maybe like 10 locations done. They didn't like the chargers that they had. So they said, hey, look, we're going to go out for a new product line. We would like you to help us out and give us some suggestions since we have engineering in-house. So we sent our chief engineer over to India. India's got a number of mid-size, small-size manufacturing facilities for EVs. We came back, ended up striking a deal with them. We did about 50 locations. Out of the 6,000, they fired the CFO, and the Green Energy Initiative got dropped for the EV chargers. So we had about $1 million in inventory, and we had 1 client for EVs. And so then they quickly said, all right, who's gonna step up and get rid of the inventory? So we opened up a sub-entity about 5 years ago, National EV. Since then, we've worked with a number of architects, colleges, got a number of locations in Houston, and truly our biggest market has really been car dealerships because it's mandated. So we're doing a big install with Ford right now. So I've got a good amount of experience, specifically because I've always focused on the electrical side of things. And then I have manufacturing training with this company that we are the rep for this unit here. And so I'm gonna go a little bit into detail on that. I'm gonna talk about the manufacturing of these items, what's really important, a decision tree on how to know what item to spec out with your customers. And the most important thing is when you guys start falling asleep, raise your hand and ask me a question so that you don't lose out and I don't lose your attention. But again, I'm Joshua Pitts. Our company is National EV. Seth couldn't be here. Klosh is one of our mechanical engineers. Grace Medley is one of our director of sales. We really appreciate you all for having us. This is our level 3 units. Level 3s are going to be the first part of the presentation. This requires 480 volt, which is a large source of electricity. These are pretty expensive to install, number one, and the machines are pretty expensive. This unit here with a 5-year warranty is in the $60,000 to $100,000 range, depending on what options you get with it. This is manufactured by Phihong. Phihong produces 70% of the EV chargers in the world. They've got 4 manufacturing facilities, New York, California, Vietnam, and Guobong. So we are the manufacturer rep for them. We do have a contract with them. Any deals that come in south, except for a couple exceptions, we handle those. Big notoriety right now is Shell is exclusively using these units, not the level 3s, but the level 2s. There are billboards all around Houston right now, and there are commercials on TV where you will see a billboard with a race car or with a vehicle or with a person, and then they will have a level 2 charger, which I'll show you later in this presentation. And it is the same units that we sell, they just put a Shell sticker on it. And so those are gonna be installed right now. There's a gentleman named Patrick Petrino. He has 60 locations in West Virginia they're currently installing chargers at, and then they're working on, because they've got obviously their headquarters here, they're working on about half of the facilities in Houston with level 2 chargers. Level 3 chargers require additional power from the utility company, so they haven't got there yet, but that's gonna be on the next end. I'll talk a little bit about a level 2 and a level 3 charger, but before I do, I think the biggest thing that is important to Tesla drivers and EV drivers is going to be what's called user experience. So how many people have an electric vehicle? You do? You have a credit card didn't work at the machine? Yeah, that's that. So there's a couple problems that have happened over the number of years, and the very first one is the credit card readers, right? So this technology was early up until I think about 12 months ago. I think it finally is starting to catch up, and it's still got a long way to go. But the credit card readers, there was a number of problems. On all of our machines now that we sell, no matter what, it's standard RFID. There's also an LCD screen that is an option. Most will come with it. This one here comes with like a 17-inch LCD screen. About 80-90% of our chargers now come with the screens. There's a reason you would want a screen and you wouldn't want a screen. If it's at your house, you really don't need a screen. You just plug it in and it's either green or red, red not charging, green charging. Credit card readers are extremely important. And then cable management. This charger here will charge a car to 80% in about 20 minutes. These cables, you've got two options, air-cooled versus liquid-cooled. The liquid-cooled literally have a chemical that runs through them to keep the cables at a low temperature because they are producing a bunch of energy. Air-cooled just has a little bit of an opening so that when the machine is running, air will run through. Air-cooled cables are heavy, liquid-cooled cables are extremely light. And so for user experience, if you've got somebody that's going up to one of these cables, if it's an elderly person and that cable weighs 15 pounds, that may be something that's difficult for them. If you've got a liquid-cooled cable and it's only 5 pounds, it can make it a lot simpler. And then the LCD screens, what information is on there. LCD screens are getting extremely smart from all models that are produced today and on. In the past, they didn't have as much compatibility as they have now. Big thing is they can communicate with your car and they can show you the information that you would see if you were inside of your car. So that's one thing that I like. It'll tell you if you're standing outside and you're trying to look at it. It'll tell you what charge your car is at. It'll tell you if it's reserved. You can reserve these machines using a mobile app. We'll talk about the software here in a second. Yeah, please. So you caught me on a typo. And maybe that's why you asked the question. Any car is not correct. It will charge a newer car up to 80% in roughly 20 minutes. It depends on the size of the level 3 charger. There are different sizes, and it depends on the newer is better. So it depends on the make and model of the vehicle. And great question, thank you for asking. So everything I'm talking about right now with these large chargers, these are level 3s. They require 480 volt. Their nickname is a fast charger because they charge your vehicle quickly as compared to the smaller chargers. We're going down in the ranks that we'll talk about in 5 minutes. Those will charge your car slower, and I'll go into detail. Extremely good question. Newer is better, especially on the chargers and on the vehicle. You know, it's a new technology, right? It's really making leaps and bounds. Toyota announced yesterday that they have a battery that is capable of producing a 981 mile range on one charge, and it's not an overly large battery. There is when you're purchasing a vehicle, I think in the Ford Lightning, they give you battery size choices. It's like a gas tank, right? But the kicker with the battery is it adds a lot of weight. And so then you've got a trade-off. Do I want the extra long range, but I get the extra weight with it? And so Toyota's announcement was, hey, we've created a pound per charge that's exceeding anything that's in the industry. There's been 3 or 4 advancements in the last week or two that have come out that are really big for manufacturing. And so that's good for us, that's good for you guys. You know, that's good for all these people that have the mandates because you want the most economical, cost-efficient, fast charger you can get. And we're starting to see these literally day by day. So you spec it out. So as the architect, you'll spec out which one you want. So manufacturers actually don't spec out whether they require air-cooled or liquid-cooled cables that I've seen. And that's from all the manufacturers I've worked with. The air-cooled and liquid-cooled cable is a technology that's only about 3 to 4 months old. And so the manufacturers are pretty far behind on that. Who's in automotive? So this is good because, well, I thought there was a retail and a, so when we go into an automotive dealer, right? Let's say I'm doing a cold call. I go in and I say, hey, look, my name's Josh from National EV. I just installed some chargers next door. I'd like to know if, I can introduce myself and what my company does. And they'll say, oh, well, we actually have to use ChargePoint, or we actually have to use this manufacturer. That's not true. It's a misnomer. And I know this because I've done deals with almost every OEM. KW is the requirement. This is the requirement per the manufacturers, how big the charger is. They haven't gotten down into the LCD screens, the air-cooled cables, whether or not it's got LED lights on it. I haven't seen specs from a manufacturer like that. But that's, I mean, great question, right? So liquid cooled cables are about $15,000 more on the charger. The NACS charger is, you're gonna have the option. You can use either or. Say it one more time. And then so I don't know, and I'll tell you why, because I have not installed a NACS cable yet. So I'll tell you, I'll just be truthful. I have not installed a NACS cable. And for everybody, just to fill you in, a NACS cable is the cable that Tesla uses, and then they came to an agreement with Ford. Ford is gonna upgrade all their chargers, so they're literally, every charger that's installed now, they're gonna give you an option to change out this so that you have a different connector, so that your connector works with the Ford and with the Tesla. Prior, it only worked with the Tesla. Kind of a in-depth conversation. I could show you the differences, but great question. So I'll show you a spec sheet with the model numbers, and you literally just go down the model numbers, and it's as simple as just selecting yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And it'll be essentially the charger, the voltage, which the kW will generally indicate, and then there's color options, and there's 2 or 3 small options, but they're pretty simple to spec out, especially everything from today past. Pretty simple, and then going forward, you're really starting to get more options. I'll show you a couple examples. So this is Feihong's manufacturing facility in Silicon Valley. So all of our team members go here once a year for training. So all of these units here are being provisioned and then being sent out somewhere. But, and I'm just in a little part of their warehouse. I hope y'all like my TikTok videos, by the way. Hey, listen, this is marketing 101, right? I'm here for a reason. So before, these are CCS1 cords. CCS1 is everything that's, every car that's built from, let me start this real quick. Every car that's built from today and forward will be either a CCS1 or a NACS charger. And think of that like as you're going to plug in an outlet, you've either got a 2-prong or a 3-prong, and then like for your dryer, you've got a 4-prong. That's the differences between the CCS1 and the CHAdeMO. CHAdeMO's extinct now. That's an old one. The Chinese came out with it. Nobody's using it anymore. Everything now will be, this says CCS1, everything will be CCS1 from now for about another year or two, and then from then on, NACS will most likely be the standard. It is changing, again, because the industry hasn't fully caught up to where the technology is. So I'll have to answer like on the side, if you're ever like, hey, which cord do I use, CHAdeMO, CCS1, or NACS? I'll kind of help you with that, and it's basically per the manufacturer or per where you're gonna put the charger at or per how large the charger is. And I'll go through structural. So this one here, so this is still a level 3 charger, but notice how small this is. This is about 2 foot by 2 foot. Look at the inside of this. It's essentially like a supercomputer. These do get very hot. One mistake that I see people make in Houston is they put a level 3 charger, a 180 kW, a really big one, and they put it right there where the sun rises and the sun hits it all day. So we do sell a 5-year warranty with all the chargers. Needless to say, you still don't want to have to come out and service these, and you still want to tell your dealership or the retail center the truth about what you're selling them. They get extremely warm. If it's 130 degrees out in July and this thing's being used all day, you're gonna have a lot of heat inside of that. Heat bad, cool good. So we put canopies over about 90% of the level 3s that we install if they're in an area where they're gonna get hit with sun for a majority of the day. It's just something that comes along with it. And in my opinion, it's a good deal, because if you're gonna sell or spec out a charger that's gonna cost the customer 60 grand, and then the install is gonna cost them another 30 to 100, depending on where it's at, what's a $15,000 canopy or a $10,000 canopy? Wait, we'll go into the next picture, and I'll actually show you the canopies that I'm installing around Texas right now. So, good thing is, from the heat, you've got your power supplies here. That's what's gonna fail through the heat. They're easy to replace. They are items that you can get out of any supply house. and you can buy them locally, you can buy them online. Everything inside of this charger, you can buy somewhere on the internet, or you can buy from some other person or company besides us or the manufacturer. So interesting part is the power comes in here, that's your 480 volt. It gets converted over to 277. The power supplies are along the side. If you have a fail point, that's what you'll change out. There's an air filter on this side of the charger. Air filters are really important. If you don't change your air filter in your house after a year, you go and you look at it and you're like, oh my God, you know, that's why my AC is not running strong. Same exact thing with a charger. Dodge on 45 and Beltway, Mac Hike Dodge. We just put 3 of these back there, and it is so dirty, it is so dusty. There's dirt everywhere, and when it's dry out, there's just dirt flying around. I straight up told the GM, I said, look, respectfully, I said, you're probably gonna wanna change that out every 3 to 6 months, depending on your usage. Standard would be once a year, but if you're in an extremely dusty environment, better safe than sorry, because if it clogs up, it'll overheat, and if it overheats, it'll go down. This right here is the motherboard. That's the computer for the charger. If you've got somebody that knows what they're doing, you can get inside of there and you can really program these things to do a number of items. First one is you can make it only for use for the dealership or for the retail center or for the business. You can make it to where you can connect it with a software, EVgo, EV Connect, Charge Labs. There's 100 softwares out there now. And you can make it to where the chargers pop up on Google Maps. So if I'm driving down the road in my Tesla and there's a charger, and you know, I can look at it and I can see how much the charger wants per kilowatt hour, so how much I would have to pay. Generally, you're gonna be in the range of like $7 to $30, $30 being really high for a full charge. But this is kind of why you wanna work with somebody that'll give you good service, that has technicians that can go out and program the units. I've seen, we're running Google Ads right now, and the biggest phone call that we're getting is, hey, we bought a charger. Everybody knows the brands that, I won't say the brands, but everybody knows them. We got a charger, we've called for service, we can't get anybody out. We've called for programming, we can't get anybody out. We don't know how to use it to set it up the way we want it. We're having issues, can you help us? And so we're specifically looking at just opening up like a tech helpline to where we send technicians out just for other companies, because there's such a demand for it right now, because the major company, the number one with the biggest fleet out there of chargers, has a very big shortfall with their technical handlings. And that's been a real big opportunity for us, but it also kind of is a pitfall for the customers. I think you're talking about the electrical more so. So the Gilman's Mac Hike, we're looking at the Hileys out of Dallas or Fort Worth, trying to think who else. We got 3 or 4 big deals, and all of those deals include a software package where we're training their IT guys, but we can log in as well. And it's 100% remote access. You've got 14 dealerships, you've got 130 chargers total. Here's a spreadsheet, a graph, whatever data you want it presented in, it'll present it, and it'll show you how often the charger is being used, if you're charging customers, the income from that charger. I can get as complex as the most technical person wants to go in terms of selling software. The software starts at $7 per unit and it goes up to like $350 per unit. If you buy that $350 per unit package, you can do anything you can think of with the charger, including if it has a fail point, you can diagnose it remotely, and it can tell you exactly what part is out, and it'll give you a code, just like when you hook up your car at Pep Boys, they tell you, oh, this is your code for your O2 sensor being out. You can do the same thing with the chargers. So this is the older model. That's the chatty mode. Those are extinct. But here's your level 3 charger. The white is the more popular one now. This is the cable management. Cables are being left on the ground. If you're gonna spend $60,000 on a charger, spend the extra $5,000 and throw the cable management in there, because every time I pass by a dealership or a retail center, in your garage here, there was 4 connectors total. 3 of them were being used, 1 was on the ground. And so the cable management's nice because it's got certain features where it'll retract. If it feels the weight of it being on the ground, it'll actually retract and bring the cord so it's lifted off the ground. Number 1 service item is those being ran over. Speccing them out, NEV, level 3, you'll have your different KWs. This is an older spec sheet, but you'll have 30, 60, 120, 180, or 360 KW. Your communications, they all come with Ethernet, Wi-Fi, and 4G. This one comes pedestal mounted. Your cables, you can actually get a 15-foot cable or a 20-foot cable depending on how far your reach is to the vehicle. This is important because if they're pulling right up to the charger, it's extremely simple. I like doing a shorter cable with the cable management. If they've got a fleet vehicle, like a longer Amazon truck, I would use the 23-foot cable. And then this says CCS1 and ChattyMo or dual CCS1. First line's going away. CCS1 is going to be your standard on both. And then in about 6 months, you'll have the choice to spec in the NACS, which is the connector that Tesla uses, that Ford's going to have at all their facilities in the near future. You can, I don't think right now, you cannot buy just the actual gun. You have to replace the gun. And it's like who's driven off at a gas pump with the pump in their car? So, somebody's done it, right? Maybe not in this room. So they have a breakaway.